Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the Cypher System rules by Monty Cook Games. This actual play is performed by adults and contains adult themes. We're happy to have you with us on this journey of cosmic wonder. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., which may bear resemblance to entities living from the vast reaches of unknown space, are strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your game master. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Always Podcast. I am your game master this evening, Michael Diamond. My pronouns are he, him. And we're back with our Children of the Periphery series as we continue on through our sci-fi adventure tale. At the top of the show, what we'd like to do is thank you, the listener, and especially you, the Patreon supporter. We take those support dollars and they push back into the community in many different ways. So thanks for being a part. You can also check us out on YouTube and jump over to Twitch, where we're at twitch.tv/theoldwaystwitch. And now we will begin with player and character introductions to my right.
This is Morgan, and I play Captain Amara Castra. Our pronouns are she, her, and Amara is a brash explorer who learns quickly, as am I.
Fabulous. And to Captain Amara's right.
Hi, this is Rena. I play Tamarisk Anvari. Our pronouns are they, them. Tamarisk is an empathic speaker who commands mental powers, and, well, we know a little bit more about those mental powers now, don't we?
We sure do. And at the end of the table.
Hello there, my name is Mare, and I play Cordelia Orin. Our pronouns are she, her, and Cordelia is a beneficent warrior who wears power armor.
Yeah, absolutely. And last, but most certainly not least.
Hi, this is John. I'll be playing Fida. We both use he, him pronouns. And Fida is a mechanical explorer who talks to machine.
Yeah, machine talker. That might be real useful. Not that all of your abilities and powers, the crew-wide, would not be useful. So we're going to raise the curtain tonight on the bridge of the patrol ship, scout ship, gunship, the Periphery, as the crew is going through some of its final prep to take off. It had decided, after meeting a very interesting being, that it would make a foray, a short foray, down to the planet. Because, well, they want to know more about this alien race that lives underground. And just as you're about to finish sort of releasing the magnetic clamps and, opening the bay doors, we will shift scenes to a sleeping pod where Cordelia is very just pleasantly sleeping. It had been a long day. She had gone to the relay station with her fellow crew. They had investigated. She'd even managed to survive the dealings with whatever strange creatures inhabited there. She'd come back to the ship because she'd hoped that she could just relax. And a very soft and pleasant chime plays in the room, and you are calmly and carefully roused from sleep by it, as your body's rhythm clicks in as soon as you hear the chime. And then there's a overhead automated voice that says, "Bay doors preparing to open." And it feels like a lightning bolt strikes you.
Cordelia, that is a terrible way to wake up.
But you are jolted awake because...
Why are those bay doors opening?
Right.
So, taking a moment, do I hear the sound of anything like chaos or fighting or anything that might indicate that those bay doors are opened unwillingly?
No, it doesn't sound like you're being breached or boarded.
Great.
The display in this sort of stack of quarters, all the bunks that the crew would normally see put together, you have them to yourself. There is a display on the wall that shows a camera angle of the bay itself, and you see the Periphery, the ship, sitting in there, and then you can see that Its lights are on. It looks like the engines are on. And it looks like they're preparing to leave.
Wait, they as in like the rest of the crew are preparing to leave like off of the ship, or?
It does look like that. You haven't seen the crew, obviously. It's just an external shot of the ship.
Okay, gotcha. She'll take a moment to get the power armor back on because that's just her normal order of business. And then we'll go to see what's going on at the bay door.
Okay. So getting into the power armor is probably going to take a couple of rounds, but you're pretty well versed in it. And you have a ability that you are specialized in wearing armor. So it takes, just a few moments to get into it. You can feel the muscles and your body sort of stretch a little bit, and then you feel the suit not clamp, but sort of compress around your limbs to keep you in one spot as you move through the hallways. On the ship, Rakam's voice comes through on the bridge, and he says, "Captain, it looks like Cordelia's power armor's moving. She's making her way here. Did you wake her up?"
I did not. Figured if she needed to sleep, she needed to sleep. Yeah, so let's hold up and not leave yet. We should probably wait for Cordelia. I wouldn't want to leave her behind. She might feel like she's being abandoned.
She might. You wait. Cordelia, you hit the bay doors, the internal ones, and you can see that the ship's probably had more than enough time to take off, but it seems to be idling.
I arrive.
Indeed you do. The ramp is lowered for you, and you walk your way. I don't know if you stomp your way, but you walk your way. All of you hear sort of the heavy boot clicks of the power armor walk in. The nice part about it is there's a light magnetic effect on the bottom of those. And so Cordelia sort of sticks just a bit to the deck plates as she moves. Not enough that it would bother you, but you're not going to fall over if the ship decides to begin to take off. And you arrive on the bridge.
Yeah, I turn around. Oh, Cordelia, it's so nice that you could join us.
Yeah, going on a field trip without me? What's going on?
We were just warming her up.
Oh, yeah. And she's looking around, kind of like looking between their faces.
Tamarisk has a Cheshire cat grin on.
Oh, that's bad.
I just kind of looks at her and he's just like, "I'll tell you all the details when we have them, but so far we know there are intelligent beings that live on the planet. They live underground.
Uh-huh.
They don't seem to know what year it is. And they have like little wormhole, like portals. They can make portals.
Like the portal that everyone came through, but smaller?
Smaller, much smaller. They can seem to teleport almost. And they seem to go over like a much smaller distance. But yes, interestingly, they also have what look like guns.
Oh.
And they have little machines that look like they can seem to violate the laws of how physics works. So that's neat.
Yeah, okay. Gonna clarify that? Like what part of physics? Like gravity? Because...
No, energy.
Energy?
He holds up like a disc that's about as wide as his big hand is. And he's just like, yeah, so I don't have a big hand and a small hand. It's just that I have big hands. Well, the more you struggle, the more it can wind using the energy from the struggling. And I don't think that makes sense, really, in terms of a conservation of energy kind of thing.
It ties you up, Cordelia. You're looking a little confused, darling. It ties you up somehow, and then it makes things worse, as our dear Captain Khazra found out. Very entertainingly.
Like quicksand, but not.
Rope.
Oh, rope.
Quicksand but rope is actually a very good analogy.
Quicksand but rope. Mm-hmm.
What else did they have? And he kind of looks so... He's like, I mean, they had some really impressive gadgets. They had a cool helmet.
Did you get to talk to them? And she looks between Tamarisk and Fida.
That is a very interesting question. Tamarisk, would you like to cover that?
Yes. We kind of talked at each other without knowing what each other was saying for a while, and then suddenly I could kind of understand what they were saying. And the more they talked, the more I could understand it, and apparently I was talking back to them in the same language, although it seemed to me I was just speaking normally, but apparently not.
Huh. That happens to me after a few drinks in a bar.
No alcohol was involved, unfortunately, in this particular interaction.
You're so skilled.
Apparently. But we could talk to each other. So, at least one of us can talk to them.
Yeah, no, it's a very good start.
Did they say anything particularly interesting? Like, did they know about the space station? Did they know about the outpost around the planet?
They didn't know it had been destroyed or broken. They thought we did that until we pointed out how long ago it must have been busted up.
Oh, did they know about and she looks to Amara and Fida, the entities on there?
The wildlife?
Oh, I've heard about the entities. You don't need to speak in code anymore.
Back me up, Cordelia. Weren't they like little weird, like rabbits, but not?
They were gross. They were so gross. And they, in my defense, and she puts her armored hands up, in my defense, they attacked first.
Yeah, the big one did. The predator.
Yeah. It was gross.
But to what Tamarisk was saying, yeah, they didn't work. That's why I made the crack about not having calendars. They don't seem to be aware of how long they've been living on. Well, they might be aware of that, but we're not sure to what extent.
Immortal or something?
And he kind of makes a gesture.
Or they could have been hibernating.
I think they've had multiple. And you can tell this is kind of a discussion we've been having on the bridge. Fido has been very insistent about his view. He's like, no, my theory is that they have multiple generations passed underground, possibly centuries, maybe 1,000 or so years. Because they don't seem to have a memory of, they know about the surface, but they talked about an invader who bombed the surface. And he kind of makes a gesture of like, we don't know how hospitable it's going to be to life because they still live underground, but we don't know if that's because they've been living underground for so long. That's where all their stuff is.
Okay.
Well, this is a great conversation. We can have this on the road. We're in the air.
We could even go down there and look for ourselves.
Where are we going down? Where are we going?
Oh yeah, that's why we're powering up the ship. We're going to go down and have a look and see what's up. Tamarisk made the excellent point that we are technically the new people here, so we're going to have to figure out how that's going to work. If all their structures are underground, I don't know how we're going to identify if we're going to land on their roof. You know, we don't necessarily want to land on somebody's doorstep.
Have you identified where their settlement is, or are there multiple settlements, or are there any unsettled areas on the planet as well?
You have to understand, only one of us was able to talk to this thing. And he's kind of like, he pauses and he's just like, it's whoever they are. Oni? He kind of squints at Tamarisk, right? That was it?
As best as I could work out, yes.
Yeah, this Oni person didn't tell us where their house was, so we don't have much idea of what their population is like, so...
Okay, but you said they have guns.
Oh, at least one.
Okay. One? Okay, where did you meet up with them if not down on the planet? Where was this encounter?
Oh, they used the portals. They used the portal thing that Fido was talking about to get onto the ship.
Oh, on here.
Yeah, they boarded our ship.
Yes, they were on here.
Well, on the big periphery, not the little periphery.
The big periphery is not the periphery. Just never mind. So, does this vessel not have scanners of some sort in order to see what you're looking at down on the planet?
We'd have to get closer, at least.
Hey, and hope that their guns are not all that... And hope that their one gun is not all that big, then, I suppose.
Oh, interesting point.
Oh.
The reason this Oni character left is because they, I don't know what the exact phrasing was, but they didn't have the authority to do anything more than just talk to us. So I think they were like a traffic cop.
Traffic cop.
Yeah, you know the way you get pulled over, you gotta explain where you're going, what you're doing.
Right. Then you can see that she's like, okay.
A traffic cop with some kind of strange quicksand rope machine.
I'm sorry, were you arrested with the quicksand rope?
I mean, technically the captain was, but only her progress.
She was a little tied up for a moment.
Yes. And there's a time and a place for that.
Cordelia just tilts her head.
Rakam, do you think we could do a scan after we are in the upper atmosphere?
Certainly. I'll warn you that it's going to be a little rough.
Well, shocked.
The ship begins to ascend, and then you head out the open bay doors. And travel to the planet itself is not terribly long. The distance that still exists between the seed ship and the relay station is fundamentally not terribly far. The relay station to the planet is even closer. So you pass the relay station, and it's at that point you have the ability to get really a good read on the planet if you'd like. So that is going to be a difficulty 4 challenge for anyone who chooses to work the sensors here on the ship. And you'll have to just tell me how you'd like to approach that difficulty 4 challenge.
I was going to say the data jack, but I don't think that's going to help us.
I would say with the data jack, like you could try to find a place to plug in to the periphery.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would essentially be taking control or attempt to take control of those sensor devices. Then it would basically be you making the roll. So you could do it that way, or you could try it a different way.
Well, I am trained in tasks involving electrical machines.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had somebody looking at a second monitor, perhaps they could give me a benefit of some kind of friend-based skill they have.
I suppose that could happen here. As someone who is beneficent, I could assist.
Okay.
So my training should reduce it from a 4 to a 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then having Cordelia helping should reduce it from a 3 to a 2. Correct?
Yeah, I had helpful. Whenever you help another character, that character gains the benefit as if you were trained, even if you're not trained or specialized in the attempted task. So I assume that's her looking over the shoulder, being able to then assist as well.
Okay, so I'm already trained. Mike, does that knock me up to specialized, or does it keep me?
I don't see why not. She is trying to be helpful.
She's doing backseat driver things of being like, okay, these are the types of things that we would need to be on the lookout in order to find a safe landing position, in order for us to do this part here, because her whole thing's like, hey, I would love to get into a position not to shoot things without getting, glared at, and we're trying to build trust, even though, fun fact, I'm trained in all tasks related to social interaction and putting people at ease and gaining trust, but look at how that's working here.
We'll say that it's a challenge rating 2 or a target number 2 challenge. So it's a 6 or better.
I have just rolled and gotten a 19. All because I was being helped by my friend.
Right. 19's a minor effect, so I'll give you a little bit of additional knowledge. This beautiful green-blue ball of planet is seemingly got a lot of really interesting features on it. One of the largest features that you see is that it does appear to have quite a bit of water on it, which is super helpful, or what looks like water anyway, to the sensors. The clarity and the drinkability of that water is yet to be determined. The sensors here are not powerful enough, nor fine-tuned and accurate enough to be able to sense something like that from this far away. You do also find that the upper atmospheric weather patterns don't seem to project like they're going to be big problems for the ship to deal with. And so when you begin to make your way through into the upper atmosphere, you get some honestly pretty good news. The oxygen and nitrogen percentages on this planet are within reasonable norms for the moment. Now, I say for the moment because every planet is different, biospheres are different, but from what the external sensors can tell, it does not appear like a planet where you would be required to wear a breath mask. Folks from Third Horizon have been in and out of all sorts of different environments. Cordelia, you really know essentially 2 environments at this point. You know the ship and, well, Earth. That's it. So this is a entirely brand new experience to go to a different planet. This is like, holy moly, we're on a different planet. And yeah, there's The space you're coming into over is a large forested area. I say large probably because it's about the size of, say, Texas. And the planet looks, from this angle and at this distance, relatively undeveloped. What's the plan?
All right, do we want to land down and then do a quick recce of the ground, make sure that the soil is... He's just like, I mean, I don't have any training for... Usually I land at a spaceport.
Mm-hmm. Well, on the main ship, we would have had all sorts of information and instruments in order to help us identify things, to help us identify whether or not the soil would be good. I mean, these are all things that the colony ship was intended to seek out. We could at least go make sure there's no flora or fauna that wants to kill us first. Because, I've read a couple of comic books back in my day, and that's usually like the first thing that happens when you would land on a planet. I was really excited about that part. So I guess we get ourselves ready to land it in a clearing of some sort. Land the ship in a clearing and go from there. What would you say?
Well, I would tend to agree with you as somebody who has piloting navigation.
As someone who also has piloting navigation, I would like to suggest landing on a plane.
As someone who doesn't, but likes not crashing into trees.
Kids, you're all pretty. Calm down.
I turn and look at Tamara. I know.
Well, and you see Cordelia sitting there looking between Fida and Amara and kind of crosses her arms. She's like, well, I'm not the captain, so I'm not the one to make the final call on anything.
The ship gets rocked by a massive, massive force. The entire view screen goes white and blue as energy rolls over the front of it. And so, Captain, I'm going to present you with a GM intrusion.
Yes.
So you may take 1 XP and give it to another member of your party.
I will give it to Cordelia because we're probably going to butt heads on this mission. She's trying to tell me what to do on my ship.
Yeah. I just said that I wasn't going to make a call.
It was the way you said it, Cordelia.
That's fair.
Okay, so what I'm going to ask our crew to do now is to make a challenge rating 3 stability test. And this is purely for your ability to react and hold on to places where you're at. Because the ship is being rocked pretty hard. For Cordelia, you have a equipment asset that will assist you to lower this to 2 automatically.
All right, Mike, I got a 16.
That's good. You stay in one piece.
Nat 20.
Fida might be the luckiest character.
Ooh, a nat 20. You're certainly not the luckiest character. That's just a natural 20. You grab onto the sturdiest thing that you have in front of you, which is essentially like Fida. And he is your rock, as he doesn't move, and thus you don't move. So I got to ask, Cordelia, what did you roll?
I am really glad that difficulty got lowered because I rolled a 7.
Fabulous. So there's now a conga line of people holding on to one another. And Captain Kazra?
I got a 4.
Oh.
But can I use an XP to re-roll it?
You could, but I, as your game master, am just going to tell the player that it is likely not worth.
Okay, then I won't.
XP is something you really try to hold on to. You don't want to give it up that easily.
Is this where I go flying to the back of the bridge and smack against the wall? Because I've seen that.
Yeah, actually, that is sort of what you do. So you come clear out of the captain's chair and you land over the back of one of the consoles on like your right side, and you feel the console edge sort of dig into your back, and then you flop onto the floor. So that is 3 damage to your might pool for that. And it doesn't sound good at all. Doesn't feel good either.
Sweet. Yeah, I yell as I hit the wall and then flap over the console. Do I go unconscious at all, or
no? How much might do you have left?
Oh, I got a bunch of might, so I got 9 left. So
you're good until your might pool is 0. Then you're conscious.
And then I yell, "Wakam, can you get us stabilized, please?"
Captain, we're under fire.
Oh,
we're being attacked.
Can you fire back?
Sure.
Mike, if we're under fire, I'd like to
Yeah.
climb into the pilot's seat
Okay.
and think of Icarus and just be like, well, I'm not going to be as good as she was, but I'll do my best.
Currently still a popsicle. You get into, or you go for the pilot seat. And I'll just ask both Tamarisk and Cordelia what they're going to be doing while this movement's going on.
Taking my old accustomed seat in the gunner's chair.
Okay. Cordelia.
Cordelia's gonna go back and check on Amara, and gets back there, and just after having done the bit of the teasing, probably had that moment at first, watching in those brief moments as the captain was flying through the air, that brief moment of hilarity then dropped as soon as she heard the yell of pain, and she makes her way back there and offers a hand down to help the captain up.
Yeah. Easily something that Amara can accept and begin getting back to her feet.
Yeah, my cheeks are like crimson red because Cordelia, I'm a little embarrassed that happened in front of Cordelia. And so I thank her and go climb back into the captain's chair, a little bruised.
We'll get to that in a second, promise. So, Fida, what you see on your screen, on the captain's sort of heads up screens that are here, is nothing good. There are multiple energy blasts coming at the ship at the same time. And it looks like on autopilot, effectively, what Rakam is trying to do is compensate long enough for people to get their act together. The gunnery station for you, Tamarisk, is, well, I mean, there's missiles on this ship as needed. There's a weapon made to confuse the enemy's intelligence, which is the meme cannon, as was evident in the Coriolis game. And then there are basically small machine guns that can come out in atmospheric conditions. They're not much better than, say, point defense weaponry. So they're really not something that you're going to fire at anything that's at long range. Very commonly called PDCs, for those of you who may have watched The Expanse. So I would love to know, while Captain Kauser's coming back around to get to her captain's chair, Fida, what are you doing in your perhaps mere moments as temporary captain on this ship?
Yeah, in the moments that I am at the chair, I'm just going to try and identify so do I have the vector for where the fire is coming from, Mike?
Yeah, you do. It's coming from the ground, or what looks like the ground level. And you have basically a point on the ground that you think where this is coming from.
My plan is genius in its simplicity. I'm going to try and fly away from this place very quickly.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah, like literally a straight line wherever we're headed, just speed up.
Okay, so you're going to climb back into the high atmosphere maybe to try to outrange what's going on?
Yeah, if this is planet side, it didn't hit us till we entered Atmo, but, even if it was high Atmo, we broke planet atmosphere and it locked on, which makes me think maybe it's automated, but Fight is just like, well, away from the thing that's causing the pain. For one thing, Rakam won't shut up if his hull gets scratched.
That is true. He's rather persnickety when it comes to the hull.
He's a little bit, and I can't blame him.
He's a pretty ship. He knows he's pretty. Okay, so to get away from this sort of fire, it's going to be pretty complex because what you're dealing with is a weapon that is basically firing at a spread. And so because of the nature of the weapon, I'm going to put you at a hindrance for this roll. So the normal challenge rating 4 is going to go up to 5.
So in which case it becomes 15.
It does become 15 or better, yes.
Yeah. As I am trained in the pilot skill, that brings it back down to a 4, which is a target of 12 or better.
Mm-hmm.
Does machine affinity count for this? As it's the interface I'm using is electrical, but the machine itself is not.
Yeah, I don't think it applies here.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's not in the spirit of it, right? So yeah, okay, I'm going to try my best in the emergency moment of the captain flying back out the door. Emergency maneuvers by Fida. An 18.
Oh, very good. You sweep hard right everybody on the bridge has to react to that because the force at which you move is pretty serious. You're all not required to make rolls necessarily, so don't worry about that. But the ship banks real hard right, and you watch a few of these blasts go wide. There are several more already incoming. Tamara's, from the weapons position, what's your play?
Do I see any things that are shooting at us? Like, can I trace back what's doing the actual shooting?
Right now, it's out of like actual visual sensor range for you to be able to get an eyeball on it. What you see is there is a place where these attacks are originating from that is ground level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about all you know. It does not seem to be operating vertically. It seems to be ground-based. And for you to have effective fire on it, you can either sort of choose to like fire, not blindly per se, but fire at it in hopes of hitting it, or FIDA can get closer so that you can have a much better chance of lining up the target.
And FIDA seems to be not taking that route, so...
Oh, and is shouting, emergency evasive maneuvers.
How does... mechanics question, Mike.
Yeah.
So Tamarisk was trained a bit in using the weapons back in when we were using Coriolis, but now on their sheet, because of the path they took, they are inexperienced with weapons. How does that work out mechanically when they've been able to do things in the past but can't now?
Oh, well, I can explain that pretty simply, and that is that the way Tamarisk's brain has, we'll just say, mutated, part of the brain that used to be there, that knew all that stuff, is sort of having like a hard time remembering the piano lessons when it comes to the hardware.
Okay.
And so when you get to the controls, they don't feel natural anymore. Like, imagine, if you will, waking up from a dream and trying to use something that's very complex, and everything feels a little rubbery and sort of just not real. I mean, it's clearly there, but at the same time, you don't have a good feel for it anymore, and there's this anxiety that grows in you about getting it wrong.
I don't think I can do this part anymore. Rakam, is there anyone you can hail? I can talk to people. I don't think I can shoot things anymore. Like, Tamarisk sounds genuinely stressed and upset at the moment because they're staring at their hands and trying to figure out why they're not getting the muscle memory back. Just what is happening.
You hear a somewhat urgent reply, and he says, I can try to change the layout for you. I can try to give you a little bit of assistance. Upper right red button is for targeting. And then with your left hand, move the panel to the lower left to be able to initiate the firing sequence. And remember, it's the railgun, so it kicks.
Right, okay. I'll try it. Genuine panic at being faced with something they used to be able to do and they did okay with actually before and cannot remember for the life of them how to do it anymore.
So to strike the target, it's challenge rating 5. You're hindered, so it's 6. So it's 18 or better.
Oof, that's not going to work.
Can we hear this conversation?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, as someone who is in the military, like you would hear what it sounds like when someone who's not trained is given a gun and told to shoot something.
Cordelia's like, we need to shoot something? I can do that. And she starts moving over. Need a hand?
Both hands if you got them.
Perfect. Great. Can I sit here? Gestures at the seat.
Let Cordelia take over. Like, my hands are actually kind of shaking. No, just, you can see that Tamara's hands are shaking. And it's a loss of cool that they haven't displayed in front of you before. It's a little unnerving for them right now.
Cordelia can see this and puts a hand on Tamarisk's shoulder. Is like, it's going to be okay. Should probably check on the captain.
You can see the captain's like clawing her way back to her seat, trying to get into the command chair.
My back hurts.
Your back does hurt. I'm going to go ahead and give Amara and Cordelia their actions, and then the other side of the coin will go on, and things will happen. But please.
Cool. So, which one of us first?
I'm happy to stay with the scene with you right now, Cordelia. So go ahead and if you would like to attack, It is challenge rating 5 to strike the ground target.
May I use combat prowess? Well, I guess that's for damage, really. In my choice of ranged or melee weapons, and it would have been ranged. I have things to lower this. I am practiced in heavy weapons. I'm assuming a railgun is a heavy weapon, like a very heavy weapon, an extremely heavy weapon.
It's a shipboard weapon, certainly, but I would give you the fact that you're familiar enough with how it works to be able to go through the targeting sequence. Now, I would just say for the player, right? So they understand. That understand how to play this. Remember that you are dealing with what you would consider is advanced technology. You are not used to having all of the different potential targeting options that you have here on this pad, right? Normally this pad would be like 6 panels and you'd be like moving this and then doing this. All this is really helpful. Oh, this is super helpful because they've finally advanced enough where this, probably shipboard railgun could be fired by a single person. Hey, I'm that person.
Man, the quality of life updates. 300 years will really do that. Yeah, so she's gonna just try to go for it, just using the heavy weapons, practicing. Would data jacking in help at all? Or is that mostly for information?
It's mostly for information.
And am I allowed to use some of either intellect or I guess this would have to be intellect, wouldn't it?
Not necessarily. So I could see...
Or might.
Might would be a stretch. I could see you making a speed pool spend.
Okay.
To get over the controls fast enough.
Right, and that would be spending 2?
You'd spend it for effort, you'd spend 3 points unless your edge was in your speed pool.
It's not. It's in might. So then I guess I'll have to spend 3 because I would like to do that to have a better, edge at this. So that should bring it down by 2?
Yeah, it brings it down by 1. Every level of effort you apply is 1 drop to the target number.
But that would have brought down 1, but then we also had it brought down by my... So it's a total for total for 3. 3 is the difficulty.
Yep, it is now.
Okay. Able to spend anything after the fact? Just curious.
The only thing that would affect it after, and that's a old ways thing, would be the Hand of Fate. And that is if someone has voted for you.
Well, y'all gotta go and vote, please. All right, here we go. Hey, okay, that's great. That is an 18.
Ooh, okay. So an 18 will add a point of damage to it. The periphery is that level of a device. So you fire, and everybody knows it. So the railgun kicks, and that is something that you are not prepared for at all, Fida, because you've had to deal with it in engineering basically by like grabbing onto a handle and making sure you don't go anywhere when you're in combat. Being in the chair and trying to do flight control when all of a sudden, the ship extends a weapon and fires essentially a superheated ball of ammunition down on a target is totally different. You watch all of your controls wobble hard, not to uncontrollability, but you wobble pretty hard. You put that round down on range and you watch in the reticle, Cordelia, as it goes and goes and goes and goes. And then you see a very tiny bit of it begin to get white. Like you can actually see the ball as it's sent down because you're in high atmosphere. So it takes a really long time to travel. And as it continues to go and go and go, the ball gets hotter and whiter, and it finally collides with something down on the ground. And there is an enormous plume of dirt, dust, rocks, energy that gets expelled out of whatever it is that you hit. Okay, Captain. Make it happen.
What am I making happen? Climbing into my chair because that's what I was doing.
You're going to have to boot Fida out of your chair.
Oh, I thought he was sitting in the piloting station.
Last season, we did have a separate seat for pilot and captain because we had Icarus on the bridge.
Fida said that he was going for the captain's chair.
Oh.
Just whatever the nearest thing that had the controls in it. So I was just like, this one.
Oh, but then I see him in it, and he's doing his thing. I will go climb into the pilot's chair.
Okay.
I'll just kind of groan as I have to move further. I have to go further than I really wanted to.
So since you're now in the flight navigational chair, you see on the controls, on the edge of the control pad here, you see tiny little stickers, little stars, little ornaments that Icarus had at her station. You never really noticed it before because you didn't pay attention. You remember, obviously, the friendship that she had with Rakam. And you're a little misty for a moment. And then you're going to make some rolls for me. And these are not flight navigational rolls as much as they are rolls dodging incoming weapons fire, because it's now my turn. And so, given all that's going on down on the planet, I am going to have you test against a difficulty rating 5 incoming attack.
Okay. And then since I have piloting navigation as trained, I can lower that by 1 to 4.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this will be a speed? Or will it be an intellect?
It would be speed-based. You could make the argument for either, right? So if you want to spend pool points and you want to spend effort, you could spend, I think, out of speed here, and I think you could also spend out of intellect.
So does this count as a defense task?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I can assist.
Ooh, I like that.
So I have an ability where I can give an encouraging oration, essentially, just talking to people, encouraging them, keeping them going. Spend an intellect point, and I will be able to ease one of the following tasks, including defense tasks. So I can ease the difficulty by 1 by giving Amara essentially encouragement. So once I've come out of the chair, Cordelia takes over. I can hurry over to Amara, just like you can do this. I know Icarus isn't here, but we've got this. You're the best damn captain I've ever seen personally, and you are going to get us out of this particular situation. We are not going to get shot again today. Just keep that up while she's working on the evasive maneuvers here.
Okay, I like that. Look at the crew working together.
So it lowers it to a 2? 3.
So it's 5. You were trained. That goes to 4. They encouraged you, so that's a 3.
Okay. Seeing. I'm not firing back, so that won't work.
Not yet.
So I'm down to 3, right?
You are.
Okay. Well, I got a 12, so yay.
Okay. So you dive out of the way, and so does the ship. Whereas Fida took the ship right, you weave back left through a few of these different blasts. After a couple of them, the guns below seemed to stop, or whatever was projecting this energy up here.
All right, Rakam, can we hail down to the planet?
Captain, there's nothing down there for me to hail to. I'm not getting any sort of radio or electrical signals.
Okay, let's find a place to land. Obviously, they're seeing us come in, so we need to be prepared for anything.
Anything's a pretty big word. But there's a spot over here that looks level. There's also water not too far from it, so maybe we can get some water samples and you can figure out if you all can drink this or not.
Yeah, we only brought 2 weeks worth of food and other sustenance, so...
Yeah. He's not used to being in Amara's chair, and he's just kind of like, my ass is a little bit big for this. It's a little uncomfortable. But, he's gotten up out of it now that we're clear, and he's just like, well, I mean, look, we've got some filtration gear on board as part of the standard loadout. It won't be able to handle, metals, but normal background stuff, dirt, and maybe most bacteria, probably be able to get rid of it. He's holding up, a little tablet, and he's looking through stuff. He's like, we've got desalination capsules that, you can't use the, last bit of the container, but they can pull some of the salt out. We have means and ways, Captain. We will be okay. We do need to figure out what the state of play is here, though, I think. Also, should probably ask... And he turns to Tamarisk and he's just like, we really should ask someone what the place is called.
Yes, when I get the chance, kind of didn't come up in the conversation.
I just realized that it didn't. I've just been thinking of it as the planet. Just realized it now. Just goes back to what he's doing. He's like, please remember to ask somebody what this place is called, if you can.
I'll make that one of the top priorities, Vida.
You land the ship without incident. Mercom acknowledges that there's stable ground here, so it doesn't look like you're going to just sink, which is good. And he tells you that he has sensors continuing to go to make sure that the ship isn't suddenly snuck up on.
I unbuckle myself from the navigational chair, because after last time's fiasco of me flying out of the chair, and I get up and I'm going to medbay. I'm going to put some salve or something on my back.
So the ship settles and you get your first on-ground atmospheric readings. There's certainly vegetation, plant life. There are some very long and tall green grass or plant matter that's outside. The grass here is probably a meter or so tall. And there are objects which look like trees. I say look like because you haven't really deeply investigated them. They do have some leaves on them. They have deeply red trunks, and the foliage is mostly greens and yellows here. And so it's a little different of a color palette than we're used to. What's the group doing?
I'm going to do a systems report and check the hull. I don't think we took any major damage, but I still want to be sure.
Cordelia's in a mode where she is getting her hands onto her helmet, at least, and is going to ask, whenever we plan to go, I'll take point. So whatever it is doesn't get us first. This is what I was made for.
Well, it's very beneficent of you, Cordelia.
I never could spell it. Everybody kept saying it, but I can't spell it.
Yeah, that sounds good. I will back the group up. Yeah, when everybody's ready, let's head out.
Okay. So I'll just ask, for clearly no reason at all, is anyone here putting on any sort of rebreather or breath masks? Or Cordelia obviously has an entirely environmentally sealed suit, so the answer is always yes. Anybody else?
Fight is going to throw on his spacesuit, just in case he's...
Oh, it's cute. Cordelia, he has a spacesuit too.
I mean, it's not power armor.
It doesn't make that cool clumping sound on the metal floors, though.
It's very form-fitting.
It is pretty form-fitting. The crew hits the arrow on the down ramp, and the ramp extends, and you get the first sights and some piped-in sound from the environment around. There's a lot of clicking and what sounds a lot like wind chimes. And that's really the music that plays you on to an all-new stage, which we'll absolutely get a chance to see next time. So thanks for joining us on this episode of Children of the Periphery, as we are going to investigate an alien planet, where, of course, we're the aliens. Thank you, and good night.